to put the national spotlight on Chicago for something that is both egregious and untrue is simply shameful.
Jussie Smollett thought he would benefit from being seen as a victim and build up the characterization that anyone who voted for President Trump is a racist. He just made the problem a lot worse.
This video is shocking. A conservative activist attacked while recruiting at UC Berkeley.
The response from the university has been very weak sauce. It really didn't go into the specifics of the case, despite the viral nature of this.
Next week, the president's going off to Vietnam to meet with Kim Jong-un.
I believe that we need to make sure we manage our expectations and realize that Kim Jong-un is terrified. He is a hermit dictator.
Florida is one step closer to banning sanctuary cities.
Our whole country is about legal immigration. That's what we're founded on. But that's protecting people who have federal detainers.
A girl trying to take a picture of her outfit drops to the floor, after slipping off her bathtub. Not good. She says next time, maybe she'll ask a friend to take that.
Everybody just wants to dance. Everybody just wants to dance. So come on, brother, and clap your hands. Everybody just wants to dance. Everybody just wants to dance.
Well, you can start dancing after you watch the news. We got one more hour on this very busy Friday. Thank you very much for making Fox and Friends part of your routine.
Yes, we got to download that one. That's a good one.
So
Wait, I got it. What's his name? Chris what?
Chris Allen. Didn't he win American Idol, Chris Allen?
And he's been on this program, and he sang this song.
Steve, do you remember how much time I put into knowing everyone on American Idol, and I thought it would benefit me in the long run?
I just remember back in the very beginning, Brian had a poster of Justin Guarini on his wall.
Right. That is not true. It wasn't a poster, it was just a picture.
Everybody just wants to dance. Here we go.
And they did a play about Justin and Carrie.
That's
right. Carrie, no. Oh, it was Kelly. Oh, Carrie Underwood won the next year.
Okay.
I thought I was historian.
Anyway,
so that helped me.
The best part of American Idol is in the beginning when the worst people come out to sing.
They don't do that anymore because they don't like to make people feel bad about their lack of talent.
Oh, so I should feel bad for saying that.
Back in the day. Listen, we're going to get to Geraldo in just a moment because we want to talk to him about our lead story. Money at work.
All right. Smollett is out on bond and already back on the set of Empire. And you believe it or not, he's not admitting he's guilty.
He says he's innocent. He says, I swear to God I am innocent. Matt Finn is live in Chicago with why prosecutors believe this was all a big publicity stunt.
And prosecutors claim that Jussie Smollett is a liar who concocted this elaborate hoax that included a fake death threat letter and this reported attack on the streets of Chicago, all because he was upset about how much he was being paid and he wanted to advance his career. However, Jussie Smollett's legal team is swinging back, writing in a statement in part, quote, we witnessed an organized law enforcement spectacle that has no place in the American legal system. The presumption of innocence, a bedrock in the search for justice, was trampled upon at the expense of Mr. Smollett. Was released from jail on a $100,000 bond. In a packed courtroom, a judge publicly chastised Smollett, saying if the news part is true, it's outrageous because it conjures up the most evil part in this country's history. Smollett's attorneys successfully argued the actor be released on bond, stating that he's involved in and contributes to charities, and because so far the Fox studios are standing by the actor. The latest statement from the 20th Century Fox reads, quote, we understand the seriousness of this matter and we respect the legal process. We are evaluating the situation and we are considering our options. Yesterday, Smollett returned to the Empire set in Chicago shortly after being released from jail. The city's top cop says Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism and slapped this city in the face.
Empire actor Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. Why would anyone, especially an African-American man, use the symbolism of a noose to make false accusations? How could someone look at the hatred and suffering associated with that symbol and see an opportunity to manipulate that symbol to further his own public profile?
The FBI is investigating the alleged death threat letter. If it is determined that Smollett sent it to himself, he faces serious federal charges. Smollett is set to appear on the charge of filing a false police report again in court next month. Brian, Ainsley, Steve.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. Let's bring in Geraldo Rivera, Fox News correspondent at large. Geraldo, in addition, Smollett's attorneys said that the reason he's being railroaded or falsely accused is because it happened on the eve of a mayoral election, suggesting it was political.
Baloney, baloney, baloney. You know, watching Eddie Johnson, the Chicago-born and bred black man, the dignified black man who runs the Chicago PD, to listen to the police superintendent lay out the evidence against Smollett, it's become pretty clear to me, unless there's some miracle evidence that no one knows about, that this fellow Smollett is a race traitor. He's a cynical, selfish, self-absorbed person who would do absolutely anything to get a buck. The Chicago police superintendent was repelled by him, was repulsed by him, and went on about how dare he use a noose, the most potent symbol of the oppression in the Jim Crow, post-Civil War, post-slavery era that exists in this country, lynching in the city that gave us Emmett Till, the teenager who was later lynched down south. I mean, come on, this Smollett deserves all of the scorn, all of the ridicule, all of the contempt that people are expressing toward him now.
But you know what's amazing to me? I know you have a legal case. You want to get the least time possible with the smallest fine possible. I get that. But the fact is, he's not even contrite. They spelled this thing out in a way as if it was the episode of Murder, She Wrote. They put the whole thing out there. It's an airtight case with two main witnesses with a check that he wrote. So he is defiant, and he shows up on his set, and he's not contrite. He's just sad that the controversy has brought scrutiny on the show. What about the mindset of someone can try to lie last week on Good Morning America and lie after that police report?
There is no contrition there. This is contempt. This is also, Brian, it is obvious to me, an attempt to ride the coattails of the anti-Trump sentiment in the country. The whole MAGA hat business, pouring the bleach, the message repeated endlessly on the other news networks, how it is the tone of the president's rhetoric that leads to these hate crimes. And now it seems to me,
still there.
Just as bogus, just as bankrupt, Smollett is trying to, once again, to gin up sympathy based on, well, if Trump is criticizing him, he must be right. You know, it is a Trump derangement syndrome, you know, being evidenced again here by someone, though Smollett saw what was happening. He saw the impact you could have if only you could drag the president in. Look at this, you know, I noticed that when Smollett was arrested and charged, I was watching CNN and MSNBC. They didn't even put the stories. Maybe a brief mention, and then they went on to talk about Roger Stone or something else suitably anti-Trump, and then hardly ever got to it. That's the sentiment they're trying to cash in on here. This Smollett, he's trying to gin up the Coast Guard. 5 minutes after Smollett's announcement, and they brush it off, the Coast Guard guy gets arrested with his arsenal, and someone says, "Oh, it's Trump's tone that caused this nut job."
Yeah,
well,
he thought it was the perfect story. You know, he uses the fact that he's gay, he uses the fact that he's black, he uses the fact that they were allegedly saying this is MAGA country. He checks all the boxes. He said they were, the guys, the brothers said he was originally going to, they were supposed to pour gasoline on, then he changed it to Clorox or to bleach. And now you ask, the media was rushing to judgment because they were, you know, you had Rush Limbaugh who said they wanted this story so badly to be true. You had individuals that were going on the media saying, going on camera saying, he's a young black kid and you get indicted if you do something like this. If you do it when you're an old white guy, you become president. So they're blaming the president for this.
Yeah, listen to this.
I don't know if it's up to us to make some sense of it. And I will not throw him under the bus. Is it a big, bad mistake? Absolutely. But a lot of people have made some awful, awful, big, bad mistakes. Now, we can make up whatever we want to make up about it. But he told a lie the same way the leader of this country does every day.
When you use hatred and bigotry and lying for your own selfish end and you're a young black kid, a young gay black kid, you get indicted. If you do it when you're an old white guy, you become president.
I still don't know all of the details. I'm waiting for the final results of all of this. If, in fact, it's a hoax, of course I would be disappointed.
Geraldo?
Those people don't get how Smollett played them. I covered the Charleston church massacre in 2015 when Barack Obama was president. 9 African-American beautiful elderly people mostly were slaughtered by a white racist. Yep. And we saw the reaction when Barack Obama, the president, went down there. If Donald Trump was president during the Charlestown massacre, the Charlestown church massacre, they would have blamed him for that mass murder. I have no doubt about it. There is a cynicism in this country now, an anti-Trump loathing, hatred and loathing that makes anything acceptable, any charge, anything negative that happens in the country, let's blame this president. And it's only going to get worse as we approach the 2020 election.
Well, there was such a rush to judgment, and that's why a lot of people are embarrassed by what they had put out initially. Geraldo, thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Geraldo.
Thank you, Steve. Thank
Talk
you.
to you on radio. All right, 10 minutes after the hour. Hi, Jillian.
Hi, Brian. Ainsley, Steve, hello.
Hello.
Good Friday morning. So we have a Fox News alert. Let's start with this. Brand new video showing the damage after 2 earthquakes rattle Ecuador. Tremors so strong they could be felt in Colombia and Peru. The first 7.5 quake forcing patients to evacuate a hospital. The second quake striking just 25 minutes later. Surveillance cameras capturing traffic lights rocking back and forth. Right now, there are no reports of injuries or deaths. If that changes, we will keep you updated. The former American Marine accused of spying in Russia will stay behind bars for at least 3 more months. A Moscow court extending Paul Whelan's detention until his next court appearance on May 28th. Whelan was detained in December and faces espionage charges. He denies the accusations against him. Nike stock takes a hit after a college basketball star blows out a sneaker on the court. We told you about this yesterday, but now shares dropping more than 1% since Zion Williamson hurt his knee at the Duke North Carolina game. Williamson is expected to be the #1 NBA draft pick. The league is now considering lowering their eligibility age from 19 to 18, which would mean prospects don't have to play in college.
Yeah, no more one and done.
Yep.
The Knicks fans were probably as upset as Duke fans because
I'm
the Knicks
sure.
believe that they're going to draft him.
Well, we'll see.
Nike. Rough week.
Nike stock went down. You called it.
I did.
You were right, Brian.
Don't be surprised if I get a show on the Business Channel.
Another show?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have time.
Well, I didn't take a genius. I mean, when the shoe explodes.
Can I have a moment, Steve? Could I have one one moment of confidence? Out the window. All right, straight ahead.
His ego is getting too big.
All right, Senator Tim Scott just met with Vice President Mike Pence to promote a new program helping low-income communities. The senator joins us live.
Plus, we're rolling out the red carpet. The Oscars are this Sunday. Are you going to watch? Probably not. Tom Shalhoub is here with Oscar Trivia. He's going to put us to the test as he is with Pete right now.
That included what has come to be known as opportunity zones. That's expanding opportunities here in Northeast Columbia and all across America. And Senator Tim Scott was the champion of this transformational reform.
And it's finally ready to be presented. Vice President Pence praising our next guest for promoting opportunity zones, an initiative embraced by the Trump administration that encourages investment in struggling low-income communities across the country. And billions have poured in. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott toured the opportunity zones with the Vice President in South Carolina and joins us right now. Tim, I know this is one of your goals from being senator from South Carolina. Help those who need help. How does opportunity zones answer that?
Well, Brian, it attracts private sector capital back into the most distressed communities around our country, and we're seeing real progress. About $15 to $20 billion already targeted by February of this year to go into those areas. So we're excited about it, and frankly, having the Vice President come to South Carolina, Ainsley's country, by the way, in Columbia, and spend some time. There you go. Spend some time. He inspired people. We had an illuminating opportunity to see the vice president's heart, and the crowd responded in an amazing way. It was fantastic.
So tell me right now, I'm in a distressed community. We need some infusion of capital, but not just handouts. We need opportunity. How does the Opportunity Zone going to do something others couldn't?
Absolutely. Number one, this is not a government program, so there are no handouts. Number two, it's only a handout by simply attracting private sector capital back into the places where it's needed the most to build jobs, to create opportunities, and we do that by deferring the capital gains tax up to 7 years. So the only government part of it is the deferral of the capital gains tax that you have to pay later. But there are no handouts here. This is not a government program, no new bureaucrats. It is simply attracting more money to do more good in those areas where the potential is high, but the opportunities are low.
Already $15 billion, and I definitely want to see it in action. Next, everybody's talking about Jussie Smollett and that story with the Empire Star, who's been defamed, and he's been unmasked as somebody who faked a hate crime, homophobic crime, everything you can mention. What is your reaction to it? Because this spurred you to push for an anti-lynching bill.
Oh, no, actually, my lynching bill was done last year, so that had nothing to do with this situation. But I will say on Smollett's situation that anytime you try to weaponize hate through false accusations, it is awful. It is despicable. And frankly, if you want to look at hate in a real manifestation of hate, look at UC Berkeley's campus, what happened to a conservative just trying to find a way to attract more conservatives. That response from the university so far
he got punched in the face.
Unexplainable. Can you imagine that happening to an African American or to someone else on that campus? The kind of uproar that would have happened because of that hateful act would have had national attention, and yet only Fox News is covering it thoroughly. Thank God we have fair and balanced on this station.
Right, and real quick, Senator, you said on the MAGA hat being a trigger for Black African Americans, you said you have given those hats, you've had them signed by the president for friends of yours.
I have. I mean, even one of my friends who's an African-American person wanted the hat, and thankfully the president had signed a couple of them when he was on the campaign trail for me, so we were able to give one out. But the truth of the matter is that the MAGA hat has nothing to do with inciting racism. It's the left that wants to demonize President Donald Trump, even though we have the lowest unemployment rate we've seen in 50 years, even though we have the lowest African-American unemployment rate that we've had in the history of the country, even though we keep moving in the right direction. What do you do?
All right, Senator, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Senator Tim Scott. Coming up next, entertainment.
It's time to roll out the red carpet. Sunday is the 91st Annual Academy Awards. So how well do we know our Oscar history?
Here to test us is comedian, the host of Fox Nation's own quiz show, The Quiz Show, and that's Tom Shalhoub, and that is his real name.
Yes. Good morning, Tom Shalhoub.
Tom Shalhoub's got a great radio show, too.
Yes, you guys have notes. None of them have my questions on them, do they?
No.
These are notes for the show.
It says whoever buzzes in first answers the question.
There we go. And stay tuned because there's 4. It's multiple choice 4. So let me read them. Okay. Who holds the record for most Oscar nominations? Katharine Hepburn, Jack Nicholson, Meryl Streep, or Betty Davis? Doocy came in early there, but
not allowed. Not allowed. He's eliminated.
It's not allowed.
But it says whoever buzzes in first answers the question.
No, but you got to finish the question.
You have to finish the question and go through all 4 of them.
Meryl Streep.
Yes, it's okay. Let's go to the video.
What I'm saying is that someone must force the point. Someone must say the unsayable. None of these men have the guts.
That's actually a very good one.
That's right. The most nominations. She had 21. Now, how many Oscars did she get, Brian, for the bonus?
4.
3. Close. Okay, 21 nominations and only 3 times. Okay, here we go. What was the first color film to win Best Picture? Was it An American in Paris, Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz, or A Star is Born? Oh, Brian was poised, but Ainsley, you buzzed in first.
Is it Gone with the Wind?
It was. Let's see. Let's go to the videotape.
And you said it was.
No, you are no gentleman.
And you, miss, are no lady.
Oh.
But don't think that I hold that against you. Ladies have never held any charm for me.
First you take a low, common advantage of me, then you insult me.
I meant it as a compliment.
Do they end up getting married at the end?
It worked out well for the both of them. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a...
A dam?
Oh, whoa.
Is that a
Bleep
boat?
that. Bleep that. Okay, here we go. Which of these films did not win a record 11 Oscars? West Side Story.
Did not.
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Titanic, or Ben-Hur? Oh, who was it, Brian?
It was totally me, but I'll give it to Brian.
Okay.
No, it was her.
It was?
Is it B?
Which one did not?
Is it B, Lord of the Rings?
The Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings did win 11, but let's go to the tape and see.
All right.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty, that the city should give me its key.
Popular than Lord of the Rings. What's that
And
story?
so witty.
Really?
It did not win.
It did not win. It won 10.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say B.
They all won 11 except West Side Story. Very
These are
celebrated.
hard questions.
They are very hard. Here we go.
We do not watch movies.
Who was the first woman to win Best Director? Jane Campion, The Piano. Sofia Coppola, Lost in Translation. Lena Wertmuller, Seven Beauties. Or Catherine Bigelow, The Hurt Locker. Whoa, Steve.
Catherine Bigelow, Hurt Locker to win.
Is he right? Let's go to the film.
What's the best way to go about disarming one of these things? The way you don't die, sir.
That was
Great
an
film.
amazing
Such a
movie.
guy movie. Catherine Bigelow, Best Director.
Who was she
Okay.
married to? Somebody famous too, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
Brian with the bonus.
Don't know.
Yeah. We need four.
What? was
Last
the-
question.
Yeah, last question. What was the first animated film to be nominated for Best Picture? Up, Fantasia, Beauty and the Beast, or The Lion King? Brian.
Lion King.
The Lion King is Brian right. Go to Beauty and the Beast.
That was a tough one.
Yeah.
I was questioning which one. I would have said it.
Do I come off that
Those
fragile?
two.
You have to make me try to feel better when I get
That
it wrong.
was tough. That
Brian,
was tough,
you were
'cause
close.
Lion
These were
King
tough
is so
ones, weren't they?
popular,
They were very
and now
tough.
there's a Broadway play, Lion King, so I was
Right.
thinking that
Well,
too.
now you've gotten us in the mood for the Oscars that none of us are going to watch on Sunday.
And no one will
Exactly.
host.
Who's going to? It's the mystery.
No one's going to host.
Listen, a great show to watch is Quiz Show over at foxnation.com. Check it out. Tom Shalhoub is hilarious.
You need to come do
Oh,
this
it's a
more
pleasure.
often on our show. It's so fun.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very
Tom.
much.
Okay, President Trump's next meeting with Kim Jong-un just days away in Vietnam. What can we expect for Summit 2.0?
The president tweeting, quote, Jussie Smollett, what about MAGA and the tens of millions of people you insulted with your racist and dangerous comments? Hashtag Make America Great Again.
Let's go to the North Lawn of the White House, and Sarah Sanders, the president's press secretary, joins us live. Good morning to you, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Good morning. Great to be with you guys this morning.
Great to have you as well. This Jussie Smollett story is so troubling. Why did the president put out that tweet?
Look, I think there were so many people, including a lot of leadership from the Democrat Party, everybody from Nancy Pelosi, Cory Booker, and a number of others, mostly those that are running for president, that quickly came out and attacked the president, blamed the president. And in fact, as we learn more, it certainly seems like the only person to blame in this case is Smollett. And it's another sad example of people so quick to want to attack and come after this president, much like you saw with the Covington kids and certainly with this case as well. And the president's pushing back.
What about this? He's going to Vietnam next week to meet with Kim Jong-un, and they're calling it Summit 2.0. What can you expect?
Look, I think you can continue. You can expect continued conversation. Finally, making progress. We're not seeing missiles being tested and flying over other countries. The remains are coming home. The hostages were released. And look, we've got a long way to go, and we'll see what happens. But we're continuing to make progress, and this is another great step for the president and Chairman Kim to be able to sit down and continue those conversations.
Well, and interesting. Do you think the expectations have risen to the point where the president's got to walk away with something, or the criticism will be greater than the praise? And if so, has the ground been plowed for him to do it? And I know the North Koreans want us to give in any area. Are we prepared to give it all?
Look, we've kept the sanctions on throughout the process. We're going to continue to keep them on until the president makes a decision that that's not necessary anymore. Again, we're making progress. The president's in no hurry, particularly as long as things continue to move forward in a positive manner and as long as the conversations continue to go well. Again, we'll see what happens. I think that the only one setting high expectations is probably the media, because they're looking for reasons to attack this president. They hate hate the idea that he's done so well on something his predecessors couldn't do anything on. He's had a great success here in the fact that they were able to even sit down at the table. The fact he's able to do it again is in itself a big success.
And I'd just like to add, the Washington Post, of all places, does cite some places in which the North Koreans have shown some changes. They found that North Korea actually halted key elements of its weapons program and decreasing the threat in the area. And he got rid of 4 people to Kim Jong-un. Many people think some of those 4 people were standing in the way of progress between our two countries.
Absolutely. Like I said, we're continuing to make progress, but we're certainly not naive in the process, and the president's going to take things one step at a time.
All right. The number one story for the longest time has been that this president, this administration, colluded with the Russians to win. Of course, we haven't seen any evidence of collusion thus far, but the story out there now is it sounds like Robert Mueller is wrapping up his probe. You know, there have been stories that the staff on the special counsel's office has been reduced. Rod Rosenstein, who had said that he was going to stick through until it's released, is about to go. What is the White House's, what are you hearing from people at the Department of Justice?
Look, we're seeing the same reports that you are, that it's possible that this is coming to a conclusion, that in his report will be finished. And we feel good about the fact that what we've said all along for the last 2 years will be clear. There was no collusion. I mean, the idea that President Trump needed to collude with Russia in order to beat Hillary Clinton is frankly laughable. He was an infinitely better candidate with a better message, and he outworked her. That's why he won. It had nothing to do with Russia or any other country for that matter. It had to do with the fact that he was simply better than she was.
Sarah, the White House says that the U.S. is keeping 200 American troops in Syria after the pullout as a small peacekeeping force. Why? Will you elaborate on that? Why do they do this? Or why are you guys doing this?
Again, this is a rough estimate, about 200, not a specific number. We're in constant contact with our allies. We're going to continue to be in communication with them. At the end of the day, the president wants to bring our troops home, and he's working towards that. He wants to do that in a safe and peaceful way, in the best way possible, to make sure that we have complete safety for our troops that are abroad.
Is the president concerned that Michael Cohen is going to be testifying publicly on Wednesday about his business, how he interacted with the president in business even before he ran for president?
I don't think the president has any concerns whatsoever about Michael Cohen. I think Michael Cohen may need to be concerned for himself, but that's certainly something that's not influencing or bothering us in this building.
If he starts talking about with the things that a lawyer-client deal with over the past 12 years, we know the president's had a lot of litigation in the past. Michael Cohen's been all over that. That doesn't concern the president at all?
Look, that's a problem that he's going to have to deal with if he breaks and violates some type of client-lawyer privilege. I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to try to get into what that looks like. What I can tell you is the president's very confident in what he has and hasn't done, and he's not concerned about Michael Cohen.
All right. Sarah Sanders, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a nice weekend.
Nice slow week.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. Weekend.
Next week will be even slower.
Yeah, just Vietnam.
All right, let's hand it over to Jill, who has some headlines for us. Hey, Jill.
Good morning. Following a number of stories, including this, a conservative activist is allegedly assaulted for promoting conservative beliefs at UC Berkeley. In a statement, the school condemned the violence, but the student who caught the attack on camera tells us that's not enough.
The statement that Chancellor Carol Christ sent out was a very blanket condemnation of violence, and it really didn't go into the specifics of the case, despite the viral nature of this incident.
UC Berkeley is urging anyone with information on the attacker to come forward. Set a timer?
Yeah.
You know, I got a better idea. Full-length mirror. Yeah. Go buy a full-length mirror and put it on the back of your door.
Stay on the ground. Set the timer. You're good.
You know what? But that wound up with a lot more clicks.
Well, everyone can relate to that. Most of us have done something like that. Hey, everyone out there.
Hi, my friends. How are you? Where are y'all from? Alabama. All over the country. let's take a look at your maps. It's a beautiful day here in New York City, I must say. It's 39 right now. We do have a storm system across the south I want to talk about that's going to bring heavy rain and the potential for severe weather, including tornadoes tomorrow. So pay close attention. Know what to do if there's a watch or a warning in your area. There's the severe threat. Also want to make mention we had snow in Malibu, California yesterday and Las Vegas, and some of that is going into the desert southwest. Okay, little lady, whose birthday is it today?
Mine.
How old are you?
13.
What's your name?
Sophia.
Where are you from?
Georgia.
Are you having fun?
Yes.
Are you guys all having fun? Thank you for coming to Fox and Friends on a Friday. We love you so much. Back inside.
Here, this is an older wall, and there's a section there where they're doing construction. Down on the end, it stops there, and it picks up a little further down. Not sure exactly what their construction overall plan is, but any migrants that cross this very shallow, less than 1 foot water in this ravine, this is the division between Mexico and America, and all you do is get to that ground, and they have to take you into custody. That's part of this catch and release problem that the Border Patrol talks so much about, and the threat with overflowing shelters with so many migrants in areas like this and in other border cities. That's why CBP and the Border Patrol on that side have hardened the line. They've got concertina wire and K-rails up on the bridge and the ports of entry. Now, one of the threats that comes across, not here in Texas, but out in Arizona. We'll show you this mugshot. This is Mr. Alonzo Aleman, wanted for 10 prior crossings illegally into the U.S., and he is an admitted member of MS-13. Guys, back to you.
All right, Griff Jenkins live in Mexico. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Griff. 2020 Democratic presidential hopefuls now changing their tune after calling the alleged attack against actor Jussie Smollett a, quote, attempted modern-day lynching.
I'm going to withhold until all the information actually comes out.
Okay, so I will say this about that case. I think that the facts are still unfolding.
Senator, can you tell us something about Jussie Smollett? Mom, what do you think about Jussie Smollett? Did you jump to the smoking gun defense too early?
So why did so many on the left rush to judgment? Here with more is Joe Concha, media reporter for The Hill and a radio talk show host on WOR Radio. Joe, you know, a number of people got out there really fast, and then, you know, given the fact that it looks like it was all a hoax, now they've had to walk it back. Kamala Harris was asked about it yesterday up at Sylvia's. She would not respond to 50 shouted questions, it seemed.
Amazing, actually, Steve, because Kamala Harris is considered by many to be the front runner for the 2020 nomination. You look at least from a media perspective anyway, I mean, she checks off a lot of boxes, right? African-American, female, relatively younger. CNN gave her the first of their town halls when, say, a Tulsi Gabbard had declared 10 days before she did. So she's the one that many in media want to see run against Donald Trump simply for the contrast. But the way she's handled this in terms of temperament calls a lot of things into question, and the way she's handled media questions when asked about it in a non-perfect setting, you know, sitting across from somebody on a couch in a gaggle type of situation around the street, that didn't bode well as well. And by the way, that tweet that she sent out about a modern-day lynching is still up. If she wants to help heal this, she might want to take this down at some point. A couple days ago, she was asked a question about the tweet, and she said, tweet? What tweet? Kind of like, what did I use to,
maybe she didn't
clean off my server with a cloth? I mean, it was bizarre almost the way she answered it, considering that she's somewhat of a veteran politician.
Yeah, or maybe someone's doing her social media for her. They did release a statement last night on her Twitter account. It said, like most of you, I have seen the reports about Jussie Smollett, and I'm sad, frustrated, and disappointed. At the same time, we must speak the truth. Hate crimes are on the rise in America. We must always confront hate directly, and we must always seek justice. That is what I will keep fighting for. Are you satisfied with that?
Well, no, Ainsley, because there's something missing from that statement, and that is an apology to the Chicago Police Department. She helped pour kerosene on this situation by calling it a modern-day lynching well before the facts were in. And she was going by national media reports. You should have been listening to the Chicago police, who were skeptical, and the Chicago local media, who could teach a master class on how to handle a situation like this properly in terms of coverage. They said that Smollett said that he was attacked, or they used this word called allegedly attacked, and not presenting it as absolute fact, as many national outlets did on the national level.
She's trying to be sensitive probably too, because she said in that first tweet with the modern day lynching thing that they were good friends. But we haven't heard from Cory Booker or Kristen Gillibrand, and Cory Booker was saying the same thing about modern day lynching. So at least she did release a statement.
And they're running for president, guys, so it's not like the press isn't following around everywhere. Ask them questions about this, and let's see some accountability on the Democratic side. I mean, all I know is Ralph Northam is still governor of Virginia, and all I know is that the lieutenant governor there, accused of rape, is still there as well, and Jesse Smollett is going to work today. That is incredible to me.
Indeed. All right, Joe, great analysis. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
You bet.
You too. Well, he won America's Got Talent back in 2007. Ventriloquist Terry Fader is celebrating another big milestone, and he is here live.
And so is Bill Hammerer. Hey, what you got going on?
On a Friday, what a week, huh? I mean, wait till next week.
Yeah.
Today, Senator Lindsey Graham's our headliner. Syria, the border, the Summit 2.0 on nuclear weapons, big issues. He's coming up. So what could be the defense for Jesse Smollett? He's defying a day later, and that ISIS bride who wants to come back and be tried in a U.S. courtroom makes another move. So come join us in 10 minutes, guys. On a Friday, we'll see you then.
Over the nation in 2007 on America's Got Talent, the TV show. And now ventriloquist and comedian Terry Fader will celebrate his 10th anniversary performing at the Mirage on the Las Vegas Strip in March.
Terry Fader joins us now. He's tell us all about his new characters and his brand new show. Terry, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Hello, Winston.
Hello there.
Nice to have you.
Tell us about the new show. It starts March 15th.
March 15th, and I decided for my 10th anniversary I was going to completely overhaul the show, and I've rewritten the show from the ground up. I do more characters, more impressions, more comedy than I've ever done in the 10 years I've been there at the Mirage. It's going to be a lot of fun.
How often does Donald Trump show up in your show?
Well, you know, this year we've had him in the show, and he's the most popular character I do. And this year we decided that he's going to come in at the beginning of the show, and the rest of the time he's going to be tweeting his critiques of the show. Because we all know tweeting is what we all love about him, right?
It's really funny.
So we
How
thought
are
that
you
was
incorporating the tweets.
And
You'll have them like
yeah, they just appear on the screen as the show progresses.
Will we hear his voice?
Yes, you will hear his voice, and I do a terrible Donald Trump because, you know, when you're doing Donald Trump, you got to purse your lips, and when you're doing it without moving your lips, I basically just have to do it like this because I can't purse my lips if I'm not moving them, right?
What does Winston bring to the table?
Everything.
Right.
And I get all the money, too.
Yes. Well, Winston is the impersonating turtle, and he's kind of the glue that holds the show together. But we're adding tons of new characters. I've got the entire Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, all three puppets. I've got Willie Nelson and Stevie Wonder. 5 different characters are joining the show for the...
Well, the show is fantastic. You're fantastic. And if Winston gets all the money, that's something, because I just read you got another $100 million deal?
Yes, well, you know, they keep signing new 5-year contracts.
That is
so
amazing.
It's incredible.
I mean, you grew up as a child doing this, perfecting it, winning on the show, and now you're at the Mirage and you're making this much money. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
We love you.
But a lot goes to taxes, right?
Most of it.
All right, Gary, thanks. More of the After the Show with him.
More Fox and Friends coming up. The president tweeting, quote, Jesse Smollett, what about MAGA and the tens of millions of people you insulted with your racist and dangerous comments? Hashtag Make America Great Again.
Let's go to the North Lawn of the White House, and Sarah Sanders, the president's press secretary, joins us live. Good morning to you, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Good morning. Great to be with you guys this morning.
Great to have you as well. This Jesse Smollett story is so troubling. Why did the president put out that tweet?
Look, I think there were so many people, including a lot of leadership from the Democrat Party, everybody from Nancy Pelosi, Cory Booker, and a number of others, mostly those that are running for president, that quickly came out and attacked the president, blamed the president. And in fact, as we learn more, it certainly seems like the only person to blame in this case is Smollett. And it's another sad example of people so quick to want to attack and come after this president, much like you saw with the Covington kids and certainly with this case as well. And the president's pushing back.
What about this? He's going to Vietnam next week to meet with Kim Jong-un, and they're calling it Summit 2.0. What can you expect?
Look, I think you can continue. You can expect continued conversation. Finally, making progress. We're not seeing missiles being tested and flying over other countries. The remains are coming home. The hostages were released. And look, we've got a long way to go. and we'll see what happens. But we're continuing to make progress, and this is another great step for the president and Chairman Kim to be able to sit down and continue those conversations.
Well, and interesting. Do you think the expectations have risen to the point where the president's got to walk away with something, or the criticism will be greater than the praise? And if so, has the ground been plowed for him to do it? And I know the North Koreans want us to give in any area. Are we prepared to give it all?
Look, we've kept the sanctions on throughout the process. We're going to continue to keep them on until the president makes a decision that that's not necessary anymore. Again, we're making progress. The president's in no hurry, particularly as long as things continue to move forward in a positive manner and as long as the conversations continue to go well. Again, we'll see what happens. I think that the only one setting high expectations is probably the media, because they're looking for reasons to attack this president. They hate the idea that he's done so well on something his predecessors couldn't do anything on. He's had a great success here in the fact that they were able to even sit down at the table. The fact he's able to do it again is in itself a big success.
And I'd just like to add, the Washington Post, of all places, does cite some places in which the North Koreans have shown some changes. They found that North Korea actually halted key elements of its weapons program and decreasing the threat in the area. And he got rid of 4 people to Kim Jong-un. Many people think some of those 4 people were standing in the way of progress between our two countries.
Absolutely. Like I said, we're continuing to make progress, but we're certainly not naive in the process, and the president's going to take things one step at a time.
All right. The #1 story for the longest time has been that this